Hello and welcome to this week's Climate Coffee. We've seen energy prices soaring in the UK, where basically, to cut a long story short, rising gas prices are driving soaring energy costs, and even worse for the climate, we're using more coal generators. Quite simply, there isn't enough gas, so ramping up the use of coal. The coal per kilowatt hour is more carbon intensive, so demand for carbon credits is now going through the roof, driving up the price of those carbon credits. And as we've seen, overall massive price increases, ultimately making coal more cost competitive. This ties in with the FT article that we shared recently. I'll put it in the comments below. And really it shows that, tactically these things are happening right now, but strategically, where are we going and how can we ultimately drive a more sustainable energy source, not just in the UK, but across Europe and in North America. Importantly, within a UK context as well, we've had news this last week that UK wind energy hits a record. So there's a relief for power costs that we see could be happening. Wind energy is really obviously way more important in the UK than maybe solar power most of the time, as you can tell by the clouds behind me. But that article comes from Bloomberg, and I recommend you seeing that. It's important, although at Sus Global we deal with climate-related risks at the asset level, understanding these macro trends is hugely important in driving the energy transition. Elsewhere, there's a great article on describing what a climate stress test is from the Weather Network, and New Zealand are leading on climate disclosures. There's an article from Renew Economy, which points to a general thing around consistency and a narrative to accelerate towards better climate data. Although many of the kind of reporting and disclosures narratives have been non-mandatory to date, whether it's the UK, whether it's Canada, whether it's Japan, whether it's now New Zealand, customers and users really do need tools that are fit for purpose, and this will avoid issues down the road where ineffective disclosures today will lead to bigger headaches tomorrow, and ultimately we need to have consistency, we need to have standardization, and we believe at Sus Global that starts with A, getting better data, and B, creating the integrations that make it really easy to use for a broad range of end users. So other articles this week, there's one from the Biden administration in terms of climate wins in the Gulf of Mexico, oil leases. Reuters has a fascinating article on that where it breaks down some of the dynamics there. We also looked at some of the climate risks in terms of a top challenge in London market carriers in Insurance Insider. We've also seen a great overview from McKinsey in terms of how to build supply chain resiliency. Building snow or artificial snow for the Winter Olympics in China, and actually the impact of that on the Chinese Alps in a place that I'm not going to try and pronounce the name of because I will look very silly. And lastly, Australia has pledged over 1 billion Australian dollars, I think it's about $700K US, to protect the Great Barrier Reef. This is obviously really important, but the government's done a load of flip-flopping, and this is obviously for the election, and really we're not seeing the things that really need to happen in Australia, such as a reduction in terms of fossil fuels, a dependence on coal, and actually incentivizing a lot of the mining industry that's happening there. I've raced through the Climate Coffee today on video because I wanted to make it short and brief and to the point. If you're interested in these stories, please subscribe to the Climate Coffee newsletter. It goes out every week. Over 700 of you has subscribed in, I think, 2 weeks since it launched. So please do make sure you comment on that or like this video, and make sure that you follow the link in the comments below. We've got a lot of interesting stuff in there, and we go into a lot more detail, a few graphs, a few pictures, which I hope you'll find interesting. So thank you very much. We'll see you next week on Climate Coffee.